Hi, how are you, man? Okay, hang on. Let me adjust this. Man, you need a haircut.
I need a haircut, yeah. I really need a...
And see what I did with my hair. I just took my hair and just,
Who did this?
I just
Did you
sorted
do
it.
it? Did you do it?
I did it myself. I sorted it in 2 minutes. I just sorted it.
If I can get you a plane ticket back to Bombay, will you come and do that for me, please?
Let's see who can actually get a plane to take off from here.
Oh God. It's terrible.
You can do
But
that. You're more powerful than some heads of state, man.
listen, the real powerful person is the one whom I'm in conversation with today. So let me do this first part formally.
Sorry, man. This, I obviously do not have these, a place to kind of, that hold for the mobile phone. So I'm just placing it on books. Hang on.
Yeah.
It's stable.
And that you'll have in abundance. Books you'll have in abundance.
Books I have in abundance. Tons of books.
Okay, so let me start formally. Okay,
Hang on.
अमित
Yeah,
गाली मत दो यार. शो पे गाली मत दो मुझे.
Okay. हाँ चलो.
अच्छा, तो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? That today we have one person who is an inspiration to. I think he's doing this purposely so that I don't introduce him.
Stay there. Okay. Hang on. I think maybe the base is. I need to put something here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now it should stay.
Okay. So let's go. Okay, done. So let me formally introduce you for the 6th time. I am.
What's the first? I was just staring at your hair. You need a hair trimmer.
This now you're making me feel all conscious and all, yeah. But let me do this where, honestly, you've been an inspiration for me. You've been a tremendous inspiration. You sold your first book, Immortals of Melua, and you chose the self-publishing route after getting declined by a few publishing houses. A few publishing houses came to me for my first book and said that we'll publish it. I said, no. I said, no. I will follow what Amish ji has done. So,
Amish ji. You might as well just say Amish uncle or something. What the hell is this?
Okay. See, then next time, Amish is fine, no?
Yeah, Amish.
Now you've become a diplomat and everything, so I have to call you Amish ji.
No. If you're gonna go down that route, then like ambassadors are called Her Excellency, His Excellency.
His Excellency.
Formal.
Let me tell you this.
Sorry. Complete introduction. I keep interrupting. Sorry.
I sold in some totality. After I did my self-publishing, I sold in some totality 12 books. And in your case, in the 7 books that you've written, you've sold over more than 5 million copies.
Yeah.
So this is the only difference. This is the guy who is the inspiration, and this is the guy who's getting inspired. Let me welcome very formally on this show called Kuch To Karona, His Excellency, Ambassador Amish Tripathi.
I'm not an ambassador. I'm a diplomat, but I'm not an ambassador. Ambassadors are much, much higher. The High Commissioner out here, the ambassador, is my boss. Yeah.
And tell me, but tell me what is this?
Technically, my position is Minister Culture and Director Nehru Center. That's technically my position.
Minister Culture.
Yeah, it's not actually a minister. Right? It's like in the diplomatic service minister. It's kind of like a grade. Yeah.
If I knew that much, I would have joined the diplomatic coup. But
the coolest part of this, I get a diplomatic passport now. Yeah.
So you don't need to take a visa for any.
You don't need a visa for anywhere, except for the US. But that I had a visa, and I don't have to stand in immigration lines. I can just makhan ki tarah. Now, of course, one can't fly, but if I could, yes, I wouldn't suffer.
Then you would directly just take off from London and land directly to your house. But tell me, this entire transition from a corporate, before I begin all the question answers in regards to coronavirus, this is a very important thing. Because see, I wanted to become a writer like you, which I failed. Then I wanted to join the corporate world. My parents keep me out of it. And when I wanted to join diplomacy, and every time I write to the ministry, they say, Rishabh, आप बच्चों को पढ़ाओ ना, बाकी सब हम पे छोड़ दो. How have you transitioned from corporates to writing to now diplomacy? Tell us a little bit about your journey and things which are not already available in print. Yeah.
You know, फंडा ऐसा है कि life is what happens to you while you're planning other things, right? Seriously, you can make like the grandest of plans and life just takes you in a completely different direction. I did my high school and college in Mumbai. Okay, I studied at Davis College. You know, and middle class family, so I wanted to, you know, be conservative, get a proper job and all that. So, you know.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but no middle class family goes to Cathedral John Connon in Mumbai. Huh?
Hey, not everyone in Cathedral is super rich. Coming back. So I went to IIM Calcutta, did my MBA from there, worked in banking for some 14 years, and I wrote my first 2 books along with my job, and I didn't really think it would go anywhere, man. I was just you know, just pursuing a passion. Yeah, I was just writing for myself. But to my surprise, the books actually took off, and after the second book, I realized, okay, I can make a career out of this. Yeah, so because I mean, by that time, my royalty check had become more than the salary. So
so then you said, job chhod do. Boss ko bola chhod diya.
Yeah, no, but I was very practical. I always tell everyone, never burn bridges. You never know when you need someone. So I didn't go and kick my boss ki bhar mein ja sale main ja raha hu. You know, I actually left on very good terms with my boss. I gave a long notice period. I still have good relations with him. I told him also that, boss, if things go south, I'll come back. Yeah, if my book stops selling. So
you've only taken off north. So there is you've only taken off north. So there is
Lord Shiva's blessings. So then, yeah. So I've written some 7 books till now, and then I was contacted, you know, sometime back, maybe a year and a half back, that there's this role, do you want to consider it? And sounded very interesting, yeah. And you know, I'm deeply passionate about Indian culture.
Correct.
I genuinely think you know, the world can learn a lot from our culture. I genuinely believe that. Not just because I'm not just saying that because I'm Indian or you're Indian. I think traditional Indian culture is that can give you that rare combination of traditions and liberalism.
Correct.
In both cultures, you have to pick one of them. You can't have both.
Correct.
You either become traditional and conservative and khadus, or you become liberal and atomized and lonely, and you know. So if you can get a combination of both, that you have the best of traditions, you know, that you're rooted, you have a sense of community, of family, but you're also liberal, respect for LGBT rights, respect for women's rights. It's the best combination, right? And ancient Indian culture can actually give that. And that's what I love talking about. And this role kind of gives me that opportunity, because this is India's most prominent cultural center across the world. You know,
London is the most prestigious. It is the most prestigious center.
It is the biggest.
I applied for the job of watchman, but they rejected it.
Sorry?
I applied for the job of watchman, but they rejected it. Yeah. But no one.
अभी मैं हूँ ना यहाँ पे अप्लाई कर ले.
पक्का ना? अभी आप रिजेक्ट नहीं करोगे ना? Okay, done. अभी तो मैंने बॉडी भी बिल्ड की है, देखो. Like, can you see the muscles?
Ooh, yeah. Where's the body in building? No, that is better. You only need to cut your hair, dude. You'll need to cut your hair.
I'll cut it. I'll trim it properly, and I'll speak in proper prim English, and I will come there and I will speak in Hindi and English properly. And आप मुझे job दिलवा दो. But tell me this: how is your life in times of coronavirus out there? How's your daily routine? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm stuck alone out here, right? I'm stuck by myself in this flat in this cold, unfamiliar city. Yeah, it's. I used to always think of myself as a bit of a loner. You know that I don't really need that many people, but I realized no, man. I mean, there's a difference between a loner and a monk. Okay, a monk is someone who actually needs no one, can be completely by himself. A loner only means that, look, we have a tighter social circle. We may not have tons of friends, but we need our family. at least our close friends around. I am completely alone out here. I'm going like.
So you basically cannot be a monk. Basically, you can't sell your Ferrari. You need the Ferrari. But so tell me one thing: if you were in an apartment by yourself, but you were working on behalf of the government, so I hope they're taking care of you. And dal chawal roti to har roz milti rahegi.
Things are there. I live in a, the government gives me a flat out here, so I'm staying in Mayfair. It's a well organized flat. There is building next door. There are some neighbors. I mean, so but like net though I am by myself. So खाने वाने के वांदे नहीं है.
खाना बनाता कौन है? आप बनाते हो खाना?
There is a service staff for the entire building.
तो बस तो आपकी problems first world problems है. I think from the cathedral Saint Xavier's days. So has there been anything that has changed in your routine? One big difference that you notice in your routine from non-coronavirus days and the upside of coronavirus according to you?
Okay, so some of my routine remains the same. I still wake up at 5:30. I do yoga pranayam normally every morning.
सच में करते हो?
Boss, yes.
अभी दिखा सकते हो?
Boss, you should certainly do it. Seriously, you should certainly do it. This is the basic exercises, the Anulom Vilom and those are. You should do it especially for Corona, okay? Because that's essentially a respiratory
correct
disease. So much of the work happens on on Zoom calls or where half the time is spent. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Yeah, we keep.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What? Hello? Yeah, and then time writing. I spend some time writing. The only thing I noticed though is I'm sleeping a lot more than I used to. Okay? So I still wake up at 5:30, but I'm falling asleep by 9ish, 8:39. So I'm sure most people think that you get bags under the eyes only if you sleep too little. I've learned something new. You get under your eyes even if you sleep too much. I've started sleeping too much, so I'm getting bags under the eyes, man.
So, apart from the bags under the eyes, these books have made you bags of millions. As somebody rightly pointed this out to me, and I've noticed this and observed this because I read one of your interviews where you said a book does not sell itself; it needs to be found. I know books like mine, they desperately need to be found. So tell me, how can we have people find these books? One strategy for one strategy for upcoming budding authors to market their book.
There is no standard strategy that can work, and each book needs its own method of marketing. Like first, you have to in marketing, you have to answer 3 questions simply. First, that my target audience, define that. Who's my target reader? Okay, define that first. Secondly, what is the message I need to give to her or her? That why should they pick up my book? Third, how do I deliver that message? Okay, so you have to define this clearly in your mind. Once you answer these questions for your books, then you can make marketing plans. So, if you're one of the wisest things I'd learned in my marketing class in IIM Calcutta is focus means what are you willing to sacrifice? If you want to do everything, then you're not focused. Okay. So, for example, one of the things we had realized for my first book, remember that time I was a complete unknown, right? That the main readers for these books will be the youth. Okay. Which, if you think about it, was a very brave decision because the convention knowledge at that time was, boss, the youth aren't interested in religious books. Kaun padega? Okay. But I felt that no, I think the youth will be the main readers for this. So that decided the title, the cover design, how we marketed it, where all we did the marketing, YouTube, things like that. So you have to have that clarity about your book and then make a marketing plan. You can't just do standard stuff कि यार poster बना दो, एक wine and cheese event बना दो, कर दो. ऐसा नहीं होता है.
I love the way how you slyly put in IIM Kolkata classes out there. But I would also want to slyly put in.
That's called marketing.
I also wanted to put the name of the university I studied in. Later it turns out to be Mumbai University. So the only problem is that instead of buying my book, people will return the book. But tell me, the second part of what we do on this show is called Tum Bhi Corona.
Okay.
So I've utilized the name coronavirus and tried as many possible combinations as possible from it. But in the second part called Tum Bhi Corona, which is the one book that you would recommend young people who are between 13 and 24 should read from first your collection and then from somebody else's. And keep in mind, my aim and your aim is pretty much the same. My idea is also to try to unite nations by spreading the idea of India. You actually do it. I just talk about it. So, so two books on those lines.
And one book of mine, I just recommend my latest book, Ravan. It's the third book of the Ramchandra series, and Ravan is considered "quote unquote" the greatest villain ever, by us Indians. And I think what makes him very fascinating as a character is that he wasn't just a stupid thug. Okay, he wasn't just an idiot who knew how to kill. He was actually he was brilliant. He was very talented. He was a brilliant intellectual. The trailer film for my first book, Immortals of Melua, the Sanskrit chants at the back, in the background, in the music. It's from this hymn called the Tanda Stotra. Okay, it's a hymn dedicated to Lord Shiva. It was composed by Ravan. Okay, and to this day there are Shaivites who chant that hymn, including me. Okay, it was composed by Ravan. He has invented musical instruments like the Ravan Hatta, and and he was a brilliant player of the Rudra Veena. So I mean, he had serious, anger management issues. Okay, and he had an out of control ego, right? But he was not just a thug. Okay, and that's what makes him fascinating to read about. He's a brilliant warrior, intellectual, talented. And I've tried to kind of bring that out in this book, Ravan, Enemy of Aryavarta. I'm not saying he's a good guy. Of course, he did some terrible things. He was monstrous. But he wasn't just a thug. He was actually brilliant. That's what makes him kind of darkly fascinating. You know what I mean?
Was he somewhat similar to Ravan, or there is no similarity between them?
Was he similar to
Shah Rukh Khan's Ravan, or is there no similarity between the two? But don't even answer that.
I like Shah Rukh Khan, but Ravan was a robo, man. So.
And tell me one other book that people should read online, which they can buy and they can read via these ebooks.
Okay. I read too much to give I read at least 4 or 5 books a month. So to give
listen, that is my. That's 10 years of my life put together. 4 or 5 books.
Please read all my books. There are 7 of them. 7. Please read all of them.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
So how I normally answer this question is that of the books I've read in the recent past, which ones do I like?
So wonderful book called An Open Mic. Have you read it?
No, I've not.
It's written by this wonderful young author. Very, very talented. And he's following in
the question. Strongly recommend the book. Strongly.
I'm just joking. Don't do that to people. but no, you were saying some serious books.
Yeah, so one book I'd recommend is this book called 16 Stormy Days. It's written by this guy called Tripur Daman Singh. And it is the... hey, someone just said we love open mic. So there you go. Yeah. I strongly recommend the book. Yay! Yeah, so Tripur Daman Singh, I'm sure you've heard of the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of expression in the US Constitution. Okay. Ironically, the Indian Constitution also has a First Amendment.
Correct.
which was passed in 1951 by the Nehru government, by the then Prime Minister Nehru government, which actually restricted our freedom of expression. The original Indian Constitution gave unfettered freedom of expression. And, one of the, I have actually written articles that we need to repeal those parts of the freedom of expression. Those parts of the First Amendment which control our freedom of expression, which restrict it, because I believe that's the foundation of any decent society. You must have freedom of expression. So this book, is an account of those 16 days when the First Amendment was passed, and it's an amendment which impacts all of us without realizing it. So, which is why I'm suggesting you should read. Check it out.
No, it's very interesting. And so at the organization also, and we've had you at a couple of conferences of ours. The main idea of the organization is to put together these conferences and try to India. Now, as a person, the idea is that in the morning when they do yoga and stuff like that, the day they debate on Indian issues, and in the evening there are people like you who come in and who speak about the idea here. Yeah. So there are few people who've spoken about the idea of India and then been mobbed by young people. One of them is you, because I remember in 2015 we had to escort you out. I was one of those thin, lanky bodyguards who you didn't notice, but who is dragging you outside. Tell me, Amish, what is your idea of India?
Oh, damn good question. Yeah.
You should have to pretend to be smart in a few questions at least, no?
There's this wonderful line that is there in the Rig Veda, which is the most ancient scripture for all of us Indians. And I believe that regardless of religion, language, caste, it is the inheritance of all of us, right? The Vedas. In the Rig Veda, there's this wonderful line from the Asya Vamasya hymn. It says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. That the truth is one, but the wise speak it as many. Okay? And it is such a deeply profound thought, and it shows the innate liberalism of the Indian way. That we are so comfortable with multiple truths. We are so comfortable with trying to explore different perspectives, because that is the root of science, right? In India, religion and science have never been in conflict, unlike in the West. Because when will religion come into conflict with science? When religion says that you dare not question what has been told to you. But that's not the Indian way. We have the perspective of multiple truths. Vedic Sanskrit, which is the ancient language of us Indians, doesn't have a translation for the English word blasphemy, because the concept was
really?
They didn't have a word. Yeah. Like Vedic Sanskrit does not have a translation for the English word potato, for a very obvious reason, because India didn't have potatoes in those days. Potato came from the Americas when Columbus went there. All right. So we didn't have a word for potato. See, in a language, if you don't have a concept, you don't have a word for it. No, it's not needed. They didn't have a word for blasphemy because the concept didn't exist. This was the beauty of the Indian way, and which is why science and religion were never in conflict in India. Because science means you have to be willing to question everything.
Correct.
They will get into conflict with religion only if religion says you cannot question. But that is not the Indian way. No one says you can't question. You're supposed to question. It's your duty to question. Which is why liberalism and religion can also go hand in hand in the Indian way. Because we have the perspective of multiple truths.
I'm holding the phone in one
is the core idea of India.
I'm holding the phone in one hand, so I had to clap with the other hand on the shoulder.
That's called the social distancing clap. You're not touching your hands.
Very true, yeah, very true. These days, it's imperative to maintain your social distance.
Absolutely.
And at the same point in time, the social distance that the left and the right maintain in our country, it's something, according to your idea of India, there is but one India. It's just been polarized because of different extremes. And you think that one idea of India has the capability and capacity to unite the world?
Yeah, Yeah, because we do not insist that this is the only one truth and everyone has to follow it. That's not the Indian way. We are very comfortable with multiple truths. And frankly, I think the quote unquote left and right in India, they're just big in the opinion making space. I don't think they're more than 5 or 10% of our population.
Correct.
Most of us Indians are actually in the center, and the
Correct.
left and right, honestly, Ram Banaye Jodi, they are made for each other. They're idiots who just keep screaming at each other and never talk calmly. Because frankly, on some issues you may agree with what the right is saying. On some issues you may agree with what the left is saying.
Correct.
And most of us Indians are that way.
No, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I'm very happy that 90% of the Indians are actually in the center, but because of 9 p.m. studio debates, everyone. So there's a reason I don't go on them. There are two reasons. One is because they shout so much. Second is because nobody calls me. So these are the two reasons. But it's honestly true. People shout so much in these debates, and I'm like, but. Last time I heard, a debate was supposed to be a civil discourse in which you had to try to prove the other person, you had to try to get the other person to agree to what you're saying. But I think the beauty of Indian form of debating is that there exists so many multiple truths, and the fact that we can agree to disagree is
Exactly.
the idea.
Unfortunately, we've imported this US TV style of debating, into India. And in the Indian way, there's this lovely line, it's in the Natya Shastra, if I'm not mistaken. Satyam bruat priyam bruat, na bruat satyam apriyam, which is speak the truth. It doesn't say speak the untruth. Okay, don't lie, speak the truth. But speak the truth, but speak it with love. Okay, don't be rude. Where did you disappear now?
No, I'm trying to get the book.
Ooh, I can't see it clearly. Oh wow! You've got dude, I'm impressed.
Listen, I just had to, because I am talking to somebody so knowledgeable that I had to say that I know one thing that he said. The one thing that he said.
But the main point is, it says speak the truth but speak it with love. And if you can't, which means essentially what are our ancestors trying to tell us? Have manners, yeah. You'll be surprised how much you can get the other guy to hear if you just speak with manners. You don't have to be rude, man. It's not that you don't speak your mind. Of course, speak your mind. Yeah? You don't have to, if you disagree with the other guy, you don't have to agree with, you don't have to pretend to agree. That's nonsense. Don't speak the untruth. But just, the basic, we've lost the art of just speaking with manners. How much, you can actually get the other guy to listen to you and actually get convinced. If you just speak with grace and manners.
Right.
And that is the Indian way.
Very true. And I'm glad we had this conversation in terms of the idea of India. Let me take you to the final part of what has been a really informative and light-hearted conversation. It's called 21 question, 21-day lockdown. But don't worry, because I get those expressions from everyone. We took the 21 questions, made them into 2 or 3 questions in a rapid fire, which you need to answer very honestly.
Okay, it's not one of those coffee with Karan kind of questions. And Karan Johar is a friend, but I don't want to get into any controversies.
No, Karan is a sweetheart, but he is. But my style of questioning and his style of questioning are very different. Yeah.
He knows precisely how to start a fire.
Without naming anybody who's gone on the last season, who's had multiple times, and both of them were cricketers.
Bechare.
I'm not going.
There's a line in UP. जोश में आके होश खो गए.
Oh God! No, but mine are easier.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell me, which is your favorite food dish to consume? Which is your favorite food item to consume?
Khichdi. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Such me. Is this the answer?
No. I love khichdi, genuinely. But it can't be had just by itself, right? It needs that nice ghee. It needs fried papad. and it needs some dahi. And in my community, the Kanya Kubjas in UP, there's this special type of salt called buknu, right? Yeah, so it needs that. You have and some achar. You have this khichdi, nothing like it.
Listen, इतनी स्वादिष्ट खिचड़ी आपने that आपको तो मिल जाएगी उधर, आप मांगोगे तो मुझे जो मेरी मॉम ने बनाया है वही खाना पड़ेगा. But tell me, which is your favorite city to reside in? Which would be the city that you would choose to reside in if you had a choice?
Mumbai, man, home. Home is home. I love it. Mumbai rocks.
Mumbai rocks. And also the third and the final question. This is the $1 million question, okay? If you answer...
Do I get $1 million for it?
Of course. $1 million Zimbabwean dollars transferred right to your bank account.
Saale kutte kamine. Sorry, go ahead.
If you had to join politics, this is a very important one because the nation really wants. And I want to know personally as well, because quite honestly, he was a very affable guy who really talks a lot of sense. So books make so much more sense, and you're a public figure that people look up to. So many young people who ask you this question: if you had to join a political party, which one would it be?
I have been asked this question very often, and my answer has been very clear. I am not made for politics, boss. It is, I mean it genuinely, it is being an Indian politician is the most difficult job in the world. We are a damn complex country, man. We are not an easy country. We Indians, we like to think we are easy to manage. We are very, very difficult to manage. Okay. Try getting a consensus in a room of just 20 Indians, yeah, you'll go crazy. And we are 1.3 billion of us. We are endless rebels. We are not compliant people. हमको कानून तोड़ने में मजा आता है. Even if there's no logic, we'll still break the law. And somehow politicians have to kind of gather us together, find some consensus, get shit done. I know it's fashionable to criticize politicians. Them do deserve criticism, but honestly, I actually have respect for politicians across all our political parties. It is not an easy job running our country. We are a lovely country, but we are damn difficult to run. We are so rebellious. It's not running us.
All the politicians you have chosen not to become a member of a party to contest Lok Sabha, be appointed by the president as a member of the Rajya Sabha.
No, boss. I'm not joining that.
If Anish becomes a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha appointed by the president, guys, this is the interview where it happened. This is the
I am telling you right now, that is not going to happen.
Honestly, it's been a lot of fun. With your permission, I'll just take a few questions from the live audience who's
of course, please.
Out. I'm just opening the screen, and the first question comes in: when is your next book scheduled to release? Will you come to IIM to launch it?
Yeah, the next book, I should have a book launch coming up in a few months. The exact date is not fixed as yet, and I'll certainly announce it. Of course, once the lockdown is over. Right now, nothing can be done, and I will certainly come to IIM UN to launch it, provided you're in conversation with me.
Yay! Oh God! Listen, because of what you just said, my base price for hosting shows has gone from 1 rupee to one Zimbabwean dollar.
You do realize that was a deflation, right?
I was just trying to pass smart comments, that's it. But tell me, what are your views on this book, which has now become actually like an entire world by itself, Harry Potter?
No, I think it's brilliant, man. I mean, it's, I in a way, I write fiction, which is a combination of, historical, fantasy, etc. And where, there's like a parallel universe, which I enter. And I write, and there's, one sees a lot more and edits that down and puts that in a book. And what J.K. Rowling has done with Harry Potter, anyone who actually writes books like this knows the amount of talent it takes to create she has created an entire fictional universe, but linked it to our real world. And she has talent beyond imagination, man. At some levels, any author, not jealous of her sales, but jealous of her sheer talent, man. Like, I wish I had that much talent. Seriously, brilliant woman. And I thought just triumph of imagination, Harry Potter. Seriously.
No, it is, I think, one of the most iconic books and pieces of literature. I think generations later, people are going to remember these books and your books. But but what can we learn from this Corona pandemic? Tell me.
Oh, wow. In some ways, how fragile our world is, yeah, and how fragile our way of life is. We've got used to a certain way of life. And to be honest, our generation, I'm a little older than you guys, but we're broadly the same generation, but what our parents and all went through, the tough times that they saw, we've seen nothing like that, frankly. India has had a wonderful time the last, 20, 30 years. Economy has grown, so many things. But just shows the fragility of our entire way of life and the economy across the entire world. Just one virus can cause so much dislocation. I think that's something to learn. So I think perhaps what we can learn is, when things go back to normal, appreciate what we have. Often I don't think we appreciate how much we've been blessed with. The fact that we can travel the world so easily, most human beings through most of human history couldn't do it. The fact that we don't die of minor disease, even with corona, the death rate compared to earlier pandemics is actually quite low. It's
Correct.
Because our technology is so much better now, our hospitals are so much better. So we are actually blessed in many ways. Maybe we should count those blessings. Yeah, that's a learning.
It's very true, and to be grateful for everything on a daily basis. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But today I put up the same post on Instagram and I got 1 full like. But when you will say this, that time you will get 1 million applauses. So I'm glad that you said this. Somebody's written saying, I want to read books, but I don't know how to develop it as a hobby. There are many of us, like boy Kanav, who are like me, Amish. What do we do? How do we
Start with
develop
my books. Start with my books. They're very easy to read. Start with them. Most of my readers tell me they finish it in a day or 2 days. So start with my books. I'm sure you'll like it. And then go deeper from there. There's 7 of my books. 7. So check them out.
And I think the last and the last question that I will take from everyone is: do you think the ancient, because this is for a lot of academicians also, do you think the ancient education system, the Gurukul system, should be revived? And just before you answer that, I was giving this talk a few days earlier because I think they reached out to you, but you were busy, so they had to find some replacement. So after some 600, 700 people, I was talking about, after they rejected, they called me and I was talking on Indianization of education. And one of the things I spoke about was this Gurukul being revived. How important it is, yeah, because we've forgotten the Gurukul system completely in so many places.
I couldn't agree more with you. One of the problems with our present education system is, we don't create a wholesome person. It's either focused only on the right brain or only on the left brain, right?
Correct.
So you either get the science, hard, logical, rational education, or you get the humanities, philosophical education. And both of them are actually not good if you're doing only that, because you create an incomplete person, right? Whereas the Gurukul system was not built that way. The Gurukul system, the entire education system, was to try and find harmony between the left and the right brain. So let me give you an example. So the text that was used to teach mathematics in our ancient Gurukul system, right up till the 18th century, when the British conquered and destroyed our Gurukul system, the text that was used to teach was this text called Leelavati, written by Bhaskaracharya. And have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Yeah, so Bhaskaracharya wrote that text. I mean, it's called Leelavati because his daughter's name was Leelavati, and apparently he'd written the textbook for her. It was written, whatever, 1200 years ago. But he wrote it in the form of Sanskrit poetry, right? So you read it and you appreciate beautiful Sanskrit poetry, and without realizing it, you also learn a theorem. Now that is how education should be done. It should be left brain and right brain combined. Develop a love for the arts within you as well, but also teach you the hard subjects of maths, science. These days, you have this silly thing that you can stop studying maths after the 8th standard. That makes no sense, boss. It is a critical subject. You have to study it properly, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't teach the arts, that you don't teach philosophies. Philosophies is something everyone should learn, and this is the way our Gurukul system was. The other thing, of course, is to Indianize our education system. Our education system, is basically is designed in a way कि कुछ भी करके हमको अंग्रेज बना दो बस. Just cut us off from our roots. They don't teach anything. They don't teach yoga. Ramayana, Mahabharata should be taught. I mean, it's a part of the heritage of everyone, right?
Correct.
They have to Indianize our education system, and people keep blaming the British for it, which I think is the stupidest thing to do. They've been gone for 70 years. We've been running our own country for 70 years. We can't keep freaking blaming the British forever. They're gone, boss. It's in our hands now. Change it, man. Indianize our education system. The Queen of England is not going to come and, protest at Pragati Maidan if we, decolonize our education system and Indianize it. Okay? It's in our hands. Freaking do it.
No, and fortunately or unfortunately, unfortunately, both Prince Charles and Boris Johnson are always busy. So I don't think there is any. So I pray to get well soon, but I don't think the British have anything to do with India anymore. So I don't think there's a reason for us Indians to blame the British.
There is, that is frankly, it is just an excuse right now. Just blaming it on the British. They've been gone for 70 years. We need to stop these silly excuses. It's in our own hands. No one is stopping us from Indianizing. I mean, our medical, if we are teaching medicine, we should be teaching our own medical tech, Shusho, Charak, in every way, in all our techs. You see, our architecture teaching is so westernized. Have you noticed? I've spoken of this many times. Have you noticed that in India, all our buildings have these, we build these glass wall buildings, which makes a lot of sense in London, in Western Europe, because there is no sun out here. So you need a glass wall building so that it heats up inside, so you don't spend on heating bills. But in India, you have sun all the freaking time. When you build a glass wall building, what you're in effect building is a giant microwave oven. So obviously it is very hot. So then you have to blast the AC from the inside. I used to work in a bank which had a glass wall building. And Salah, on one side, I had a cabin with the glass wall. So sun would be baking me from this side and the AC would be freezing me from this side. Just because, and so there is a real world impact of our westernized education system. Because everyone just wants, kisi bhi tarah Salah Angrez ban jao, We should, our architecture, studies should be teaching our own techniques. What makes sense in our climate.
Correct. No, and I'm glad. So the idea is to make it more Indian, and I'm glad on that note. I am going to tell you this final last thing, and then we'll conclude. Is that like how we've been brainwashed in being westernized, and we have the sun on one side and we have the AC on the other. We have the left on one side and we have the left on the other. We have all of these extremes, but in these extremes, there are few people like you who always make a lot of sense. Quite honestly, it has been a pleasure. I have had people with millions and billions of followers on this, and honestly, let me tell you, if there is one person who made these billions of people sense into them from all the conversations I've had, is this person whom I'm in conversation with today. Utmost respect for what you've done and what you're going to do. You are going to give a huge shout out to IMUN every time you release a book.
100%. My launches will happen with you guys.
But thanks so much, Amish. You spent a lot of time with us, and thank you for doing this. Very, very grateful on behalf of and all these wonderful people who've been watching.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the participants out here. Thanks, buddy.